In this video, we're going to show you how to split and merge graphs. Whether you're making a graph in the graphing sticky or in the statistic plots, you can split and merge your graphs. So I'm going to pull up a graph, so that's here. You can also create statistical graphs as well. But once you have the graph, and let's enter a couple of functions. So I'm going to just do some examples. And you'll see that the soft template comes up. I'm using my keyboard, but you can use the soft template as well if you're on a touch screen. So there's a linear. Let's enter a quadratic. And let's enter a cubic as well. And this time I'll even use function notation. You can use either y equals or. So I have three different graphs, right? So I could be exploring things such as intersections. So when you click on any of the graphs, you'll notice that key points come up. And if I click on them, I get the standard value. I can also change it to decimal. If I have any points that are common to more than one graph, I'll see those as well. But now let's say I only want to look at the cubic. So you'll notice that each graph's in a different color. And if I scroll here, I have a tab that also corresponds to each color graph. And so in the graphs, I can pull up tables. Notice how I do them all. They kind of are all right next to each other. So each graph has several different ways you can look at it. The function itself, the graph, the visualization, and the table. What if I want to just look at the cubic? So down here, I can separate the graphs by clicking on one of the tabs. And so notice that I have a blue tab for the linear, red tab for the quadratic, and a green for the cubic. So I'm going to hold my mouse down on that green tab and just slide away. And that basically creates a separate graph now. And so notice what happened is now that I have a separate graph, all of the components that go with that graph of that cubic are also separated. So my function is separated, my table is separated, and my graph is separated. The other two, since I didn't separate them, are still together. And I could separate each one of those, and so that I end up with three separate graphs instead of now I have two. So very easy to separate. You just grab a tab. That's one way to do it. You can also grab a function. If I grabbed this function and pulled it apart, it would separate the blue one out now. And so you'll see that I now have, let's scroll down here, all three in a separate place. The tables go with them, and it's so easy to separate. What if I want to put them back together? Again, you can do it a couple different ways. I can take the function and slide it back to the other function, so kind of just laying it on top of it. So this is merging, and notice that now those two are together. Or I could just grab the graph itself and place it on top of another graph, and it will merge them back together. So very easy to separate and merge your graphs, and it separates and merges every component for that graph that you've pulled out, and then it's easy to bring them back together by merging. Drop and drag.